Okay, so adding you once more, Raymond. Is it
Hello?
now okay? Awesome. I can hear you.
Okay, great. I can oh my camera's frozen. Let me stop that. And my camera's still frozen. Uh
Anyways, we can see you
yes.
moving. Okay, so how are you? Long time no see.
Yes, it's been a long time. I've just started my new work 2 weeks ago. Well, it will be I'm up for my third week, but I'd still love to watch your videos, especially since it's community based and I'll always be fascinated with the creative and with arts and design. So, and of course, brand building and other interesting talks. So, thank you again, Sergio Mark, for having me.
Yep. I guess curious. What are you busy with? Are you in a BPO or doing pursuing graphic design?
Um, for for the past few months, I have been pursuing graphic design. Right now, I've found work in Makati, and eventually the career trajectory that I wish to fulfill would still be pointed in that direction, but in this case it's just I have a clear goal set in path and I'm just maximizing my resources.
Awesome, awesome. Wishing you the best as always, and happy to to have you
Thanks.
this evening once more. And anyways, once joining us, of course, our main sharer this evening hails all the way from Malaysia. So she's yeah, definitely she's an expert in instructional design. So let me add in, let's say hello, good evening. I don't know how to say good evening in Malaysian, but let's ask her. Good evening, Jazz.
Hello, hi, good evening. Selamat malam. Selamat
Good
malam.
evening, Jazz.
Evening, can you hear me?
Clearly, yeah.
Okay. It's selamat malam if you ask in Bahasa Melayu.
Salamat malam.
Yes. You're doing good. Yep.
Okay, I guess uh let's warm things up. So I guess I will ask you the previous question. I guess where are you in Malaysia?
Okay. I'm in Kuala Lumpur, specifically in Ampang. So I work in actually Kuala Lumpur and Selangor is side by side in Malaysia. So I'm in Selangor and Kuala Lumpur sometimes. Yeah, because I work here. But I'm from Perak, which is the northern part of Malaysia.
Yeah.
Hello, you
Yeah.
can't hear? Can you hear me?
Yep. Yes, we do.
Mr. Raymond said he can't hear me.
Awesome. Yeah, I saw you came from BAC education. Curious to know what backflix is.
Okay, so
And what are the valuable lessons you learned with back education? Is it back or BAC?
BAC. So I was with BAC last year until last year. So basically 8 years. Brickfields Asia College was a college, is a college currently. BAC Flix is the online free online education initiative by
Mm.
BAC. So if you go to bacflix.com, you will see thousands of free online videos. If you're familiar with Khan Academy, so if you've been there before, Khan Academy is the free online tuition initiative in America. BAC Flix or SPM Flix is the Malaysian version. So yeah, bacflix.com.
Is this correct?
Yes, correct, correct.
bacflix.com.
So you just have to advance. So yeah, but I left BAC last year and now I'm with Dassault Systems, which is engineering company based in France. I'm
Yeah,
not sure
awesome,
what's going
awesome.
on. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I've been in the industry. I mean, e-learning industry since 2013 until today. And then last few years before this, our main audience are uh, students, high school students, and second, and also lower secondary school students and primary school students. And then we had training for teachers. We train teachers on how to use technology in the classroom. Um, and now I'm doing instructional designing for sales and technical sales engineers and so yeah.
Yeah, curious to know when you left BAC and Backflix, what's the current students in the platform?
About 70,000, if not mistaken. Yeah.
Well,
So
that's
yeah, it was a big jump from before pandemic. Yeah,
ah,
before pandemic, no one was very interested in online education.
yeah.
Basically, yeah, even when we went to train teachers, not many are very interested. But then when the pandemic hits and everyone has to go online, that that is when it all started to gain popularity, basically.
Yeah, yeah, same here. So we had an appreciation, even for me. I had the appreciation for doing this sort of live stream. And the pandemic also pushed us to do
Yeah.
this type of to engage in this type of platform.
Hmm.
Yep. So what's the status of COVID in Malaysia? Is it face
Um,
to face classes nowadays?
yeah. So if I'm hearing correctly, there are some schools going from uh, by form, meaning they are reducing the number of students going into the school per day. So you may have some students going online in one day, and then another students come in face to face another day. But
Mm.
in total, now in Malaysia, we are at the endemic stage where you don't have to wear mask when you're
Oh.
outside, but you will have to wear mask when you are in the closed environment like a restaurant or mall and so on.
Yeah.
How's yours? How's Philippine?
Yeah. I think COVID is still prevalent, Sir Raymond. I have a cousin. I forgot his age, but he's definitely below 30. He recently died out of COVID. So
Mm,
Sorry to hear that. Yes, there is still COVID here, although it's winding down. Uh, Recent events have caused people to mass gather. Although the numbers didn't jump significantly high, in other countries it's still of concern. So at least here in the Philippines, we still would have to be vigilant, especially with the transportation, since it's a bit loosened compared to when the pandemic was at its height.
mm,
yeah.
it's true.
How about you, Jazz? Are you working from home or required to report in?
So next week onward, we'll have to report 3 days at the office and then 2 days at home. Previously, there is no restriction as to go to office or to stay at home. But yeah, we will start having face-to-face encounters very very soon. I mean, in the office.
How about you, Raymond? Are you working from home or required to report?
Oh, right now I'm required to report to the office, but that's fine. At least the transportation bus that I'm accustomed to, it doesn't get filled as much as pre-pandemic, and it's only one. Well, aside from the tricycle, it's only just one bus, and that would be it. And then my office is just walking distance, so I am at least thankful for that.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. I saw you Jazz, I saw you took up engineering technology with the tool and die. So
Yes.
what's the story for that? Why not take, I don't know, education?
So my I'm trained as a tool and die engineer. So I took degree in engineering technology, and then I jumped into education in 2013. So that was when we started developing that online free education initiative. So we had only like few videos. We made it on our own. We record ourselves talking into the screen, and then eventually it got big. And I've been there for like 8 years. So it's time for me to jump back into engineering, but still pursuing education. So it's an interesting jump because I never thought I would be able to do that. I never thought I'll be able to look at manufacturing modules again after a few 8 years of leaving engineering behind. But it was very surreal, and I'm very happy that the fact that I can, because this industry is very new. Even when I want to explain to people what I do, they will say, are you a teacher? Are you a graphic designer? Even I still remember there were several cases where the HR mixed it up with a graphic design job position. So they thought it's a graphic designing job, but instructional design is actually a mixture of science of learning and also art of design.
Yeah, yeah. And it is well, I kind of funny that me, I belong to the bachelor's in mechanical engineering, you tool and die, and Raymond coming from industrial design.
Oh, I
Yes.
see. That's a good mix.
And tonight we're talking about instructional design.
Yes. how do you make it how do you make engineers interesting?
Yeah, yeah. So, yep, actually for me, Jazz, we're hoping to create a sort of platform similar to BAC Flix.
Okay. In you mean
Uh
in Philippines?
yeah, in Philippines. So,
Mm-hmm.
hoping and try we'll do our best, I guess.
Mm.
But of course, having an engineering background, we're initially targeting those in engineering. That's why, yeah, I am kind of surprised as well that you are with the systems,
Mhm.
because we are actually right now also creating content on how to teach young students to learn SolidWorks.
Yeah. Yeah. That's part of of the target audience soon, for SolidWorks. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you going to share a slide or something
Yes.
for us to serve as a guide? Anyways, let's make this conversational. I'm
Mm.
encouraging our participants to, yeah, feel free to ask.
Okay. Let me
Most
share
especially Raymond.
can I share my screen now?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Share. Okay. Can you see?
Seeing it now.
All right. Thank you. So, shall we start, or are we waiting for?
Take,
I cannot actually see how many people are joining, so I'm just going to start. And if you have
yep,
any questions, just let me know. All right.
take it
Uh,
away.
Thank you. So, thank you so much for inviting me. And it's I hope that this sharing session will be beneficial for us. So let's start with the first thing. What I'm going to talk about today is the science and also the art of instructional design or learning. So basically, because of my background, my job is to create a learning experience for learners so that they not just gain knowledge, but they can also mm, remember and use this knowledge in their workplace or anywhere they need. All right. So there will be two things that I'm going to talk about. The cognitive load theory. You don't be scared of the word theory because it's going to be very super light. Okay. And also about color wheel. Okay.
Oh,
And if you are a graphic designer, you must be very familiar with what color wheel is, right? So let's start with the history of instructional design. If you don't know, so instructional designs or the model or the theories started back in 1940s during the World War II. So if you can see some soldiers here, so they psychologists and educational specialists started to collaborate, and they start creating materials for soldiers to learn. All right. And they have also administered tests for them to see and evaluate their knowledge and skills. Right. So that's when instructional designs emerge as a field. Okay. And today, um, eventually, because of online learning, instructional design also happens in school and so on. We have something that we call learning experience design. So we are trying to develop learning content that caters to the way we function as a human. So that's the question. How do we function as a human? I mean, what do we like as a human? So where do we find all this information? How do I as a designer decide what color to use, or how
yeah.
to help people learn better, right? So then you will have to know the science or the psychology of learning. So that's when the science uh, comes into the design of instructions. Okay. So
Awesome.
any right. So if you have your phone with you, can you scan this, and then let's go to this wall, and let me know before you join this session. Uh, do you think design is an art or a science? Can you scan this?
Uh, well, I guess I'll be the first to
Okay.
answer. Is
Okay.
design a science or an art? So,
Okay.
yeah, for me, definitely it is. When you say design, for me, it's art is synonymous with
Mm-hmm.
design.
Okay.
How about you,
Why?
Raymond?
For me, based on what I've learned and what I've heard, design is more closer is closer to being a science. It's because even though it's more closely associated with art, I did hear the saying that art is subjective, but design should be universal.
Okay.
Although one can be inspired by the other, but design should not have any bias, should be interpreted the same. So I do believe it's closer to science, in which there is a method to the madness, uh,
Okay.
quote unquote. I meant that positively. So that would be my answer with regards to if it's closer to a art or science.
That's good. That's good. So, um, in Malaysia, no, I have had like several encounters. This is just an experience, right? Because I deal with a lot of parents before this, and when we in Malaysia, we will have to choose our major when we want to
Mm,
take when you're in university, and when you before you join university, you have this examination, big examination called SPM, or Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia, where our Form 5 students will sit for final exams.
mm,
And there are a lot of stigma when it comes to designing. So a lot of parents don't think design, if they take graphic designing, for example, then they would be less smart compared to you taking a science, science stream
them.
subjects.
Yep.
Yes, yeah. So because of this stigma, uh, we will have a segregation of thoughts. You thought, because I'm a science student, I'm not able to design stuff, or I'm not going to be able to be open or creative. But I always believe, I mean, even engineering is a creative uh, industry. As an engineer, you have to be creative. But
Agreed.
yes, so the stigma sticks. Because of that, later on I'll share something I think very interesting. So because of that, we tend to limit uh, one's ability, right? Um, when I joined Master in Instructional Technology, I left. People thought I left engineering. So I had friends who took a master in education, for example. There will be people saying, you know what, oh, you're gonna be a teacher. Oh, that's easy. That's nothing compared to being an engineer. You see? So there's a stigma between art students, science students, whether this is an art or this is in science, this is a science. So that's why I feel that this is an important topic to be brought up. Okay, so is design a science or an art? I would say it's a combination of both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's see uh, what is scientific to designing. All right. When we talk about instructional design, I like what Raymond said. When it is a science, you have to have sort of like a s- a research, a well researched methods, right? A well researched methods, a well researched thoughts behind it. So one of the essential theory in instructional design, or designing instructions for people, human being, is cognitive load theory. So basically, uh, essentially, cognitive load theory is just about how to make sure your brain is not loaded with too much information. Okay? So, before we can design a slide, how many of you have seen people putting so many words in one slide and just reading it and reading it and reading it? In your college life, when you were in university, when you were at work, how many of you have seen that?
I agree all. Or
I have as
99.9.
well.
Okay. So, instructional design is about that, because you understand that people cannot be looking at the slide while focusing on you talking, right? So, you make a decision based on science. Your decision is you want to reduce all this um, unwanted information on a slide, right? So, that's instructional design. So you're designing because you are more empathetic towards your audience. You try to be empathetic towards your audience, right? So cognitive science, cognitive scientists said that this is the theory, the models of the theory. But I want to show you a simpler version of this theory. This is where the eyes. I have a my second child who is now 5 years old. When he was very young, he always equate a four-legged animal as a dog. Okay, so human at a very young age make sense of whatever they see and store it
Mm.
in the working memory, and then if it stays, if you are able to memorize it, it gets stored into your long-term memory. So this is what the theories talk about. So my boy named Emil, so he always equates whatever four-legged animals as a dog. So he saw a cow. He said, "You know what? It's a dog." So eventually, if you're a novice learner, right? You try to use whatever information you have in your long-term memory. This is your long-term memory, and you process it inside your working memory, and using the new information from your eyes, your sensory memory, eyes or ears or nose, right? You process it here, and you try to make sense of whatever that is. So essentially, the cognitive load theories said this thing. All right. So because of that, you know that as a human, you might not be able to process so many things at one time, right? So that's why there are many more methods that you can use to reduce this cognitive load. Okay, so I'm gonna just point Google this out for you, as I don't. I have created one multimedia tool, but I will share with you later. So mm, I will. There is this here.
Definitely, if
Here.
you're into instructional
Yeah.
design, I think having children will really help you out.
Yes, yes. I can. Yeah, they can be my lab rats for a lot of theories. Okay, so this is something that I've created from taken from sources from there. I can share this with everyone. So basically, from that simple theory of quantity load, there are actually about 12 multimedia learning theories that can be implemented in designing. The first one would be systematicity. If you are systematic, if you create a more systematic graphics, then people would be able to follow it easier. And then referencing, you place words nearer to the graphics, like this one. You put apple at the side of the graphic. Be concise. You don't have to put too much of words. You can use bullet points, but then you, as an instructor, can explain, right? And then use a conversational style. It looks like common sense, but we don't usually implement it often, because sometimes we don't know whether it's gonna be impactful or not, right? But turns out even science agree that all these are important. And then present words as spoken text, so they do not compete with the graphic for the learner's visual attention. So if you know, like, if you want to create a videos using narration, using conversational style, and so on, helps your learners to learn better, or help them build a more meaningful um flow in learning. Okay, so that's one thing. Any comments before I
So,
go on? Mm-hmm.
this is similar to the concept of hierarchy. Is that correct?
Can you explain the concept of hierarchy? What
Oh,
does it
sorry.
entails?
Oh, sorry. The
Mm-hmm.
concept of hierarchy is to make sure that a design, for example, in a layout,
Mm-hmm.
specifically tailors to have one element catch the eye before another. So
Mm-hmm.
in that instance, from what I understand, it it also the said layout should also not be too busy as to direct the eye to what's important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, it's possible because I don't know. Anyway, concept, because concept comes from I mean, people who develop these concepts or models, they comes from, they would have principles that they follow, right? So from that principle, it might be cognitive load theory. Because of that, they develop other models or concept or principles or framework, so that designer would be easy, because designers are not researchers. We don't, read research textbooks every day or research articles every day. So then designers would need all these concept, methodologies, model, uh, or any other like color wheels, right? Theories that help them make decision fast, especially in designing. Yeah, I agree that uh concept of hierarchy, like you said, is part and partial of from this theory. Yeah. Anything else?
Well, for me, I guess sociability.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that strikes me uh, the most.
Yep. Why?
And I guess teaching as well. The tone of the voice, because I know some people are. There are people who are gets easily irritated when they hear a
Mm-hmm.
very sharp pitch in someone else's voice. So,
Mm-hmm.
yep.
Yeah. But you will be surprised whenever you want to design a videos, for example. Some your clients might say, you know what, I don't mind using those generated voice, human voice, in
Ah,
my
yeah.
learning content, or but the science says it will be more engaging if you have a conversational style narration. So it can be a point for us to let the clients know what works, what doesn't work. Hmm.
For BAC Flicks, have you used that AI voice? Something
No,
like speech hello?
we
Okay.
use because we hire teachers, so the teachers are the one explaining all inside all these videos. So yeah, we don't use AI generated voice. But I also know, lately I noticed there are a lot of AI generated voice that sounds like human.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Technology is keeping up. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that's possible. If you cannot hire so many people to help narrate the content, then we can have human AI narration.
Yeah, yeah. I
True.
recall. I'm not sure if Raymond, have you also seen that YouTube channel? I think it's from an Indian. He has a high number of subscribers. He teaches, I think, After Effects, and then he
Mm-hmm.
uses an AI voice. But
Oh, I
it's
haven't
still,
heard of that. But the concept of AI is really it's not it's really fascinating, and it in the and it evolves fast. So one day I wake up and wow, we have all of these things now, even from the speech hello ads. But indeed, I actually agree for now that of course the human element should
yeah,
uh, should not be overlooked. I mean, the
yeah. And I
AI
think,
would be there, can
yeah.
help, but
And the
or maybe
latest
it's a
a
balance of
yeah,
both. Sorry.
and the latest AI technologies for speech, I think it has inflections, so it really
Ah,
sounds like
okay,
a
yeah.
true human than a
Wow.
robotic. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard and I've used one that really doesn't sound like a robot. So I'm very fascinated. So yeah, but so as much as if we are basically, if you're concerned with human being and you're teaching a human being, so I mean, make that decision so that you will promote learning. Okay, so that's about cognitive science. uh and then I want to talk about color wheel. I mean, it's like one of the most popular uh thing that I think all designers know. But I have one question. Do you know who created color wheel?
Hmm.
Don't
The
Google
moment
it.
I saw this wheel, what I saw is green and red.
Okay.
And it's kind of related to we had our previous I'm not sure if you know this, Jazz, but
Mm-hmm.
election was previously done. So
Mm-hmm.
one of the political persons here
Mm-hmm.
used that color, green and red.
I see. Okay. So why? We are not sure what it evokes, right? So why if I'm actually quite surprised. So when I did some researching, like who first found this color wheel, it is Sir Isaac Newton.
Oh.
Yeah. So I was like, okay. So in 1706, he developed this color wheel, and then and rotates it into progression to develop all these colors. Okay, so today it has been widely used because it feels so so pleasant. It's so pleasant to see complementary colors and primary colors together, right? Here is the psychology of colors. This is not exactly this is just an information for me to share. So if you choose red, it shows love, energy, strength, excitement. Green, healing, freshness, quality. In Malaysia, we have blue colored um, party that has blue. It evokes trust, peace, loyalty. Pink, compassion, and so on. So this is the psychology of color. So part and partial of psychology of color is science, right? So it is science based research. So people do research and then realize that all these colors evoke some kind of emotions to a human being. So
Jazz,
part, yes.
I guess the next question for us is, what's your favorite color?
Oh, okay. I like black.
Before you proceed.
I like black.
Okay, black. How about you, Raymond?
I've always been more of a blue guy since when I can remember, since it's the color of the sky and the seas.
I see. Okay. What about you?
Yep. Yeah. Same for me, Raymond. Yeah. That's
I
why
see.
our nameplates are all in blue.
I see. Okay, my husband likes blue also. A lot of guys love blue, I
Yeah,
guess.
I think it's a masculine thing.
Yeah. Mm, I don't know, but I like black. I just feel that it cancels all the other colors.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds very wrong. It sounds very evil. Okay. All right. So what's interesting also, part of just knowing, so how do I make design decision fast sometimes when I want to design my slides other than just using Canva? Obviously, there's this an app called Color Supply. So this Color Supply helps you decide the theme of your slides by just rotating, you see, and then you can. look at the colors, like color code, copy it, and use it for to design your learning materials. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's all. So thank you. Should I?
Awesome. Well,
Thank you so
Great.
much.
for me, I guess the colors you've mentioned, I guess we can relate that to thumbnail creation in YouTube, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How is that? Can I? Should I stop sharing? Okay, stop sharing. Let's see. What
So
do you
I think
mean? The
we
thumbnail
should
creation.
reinvent ourselves with colors. It really is very important with regards to attracting the learners or enticing them uh, to learn more. What about you, Raymond?
For me, there are some universal interpretations of colors, but of course, depending on the whatever part of the world that one is trying to reach, it's also important how one color's interpretation differs from the other culturally. So we can gravitate more towards those items in such a scenario, so that indeed we can attract a wider audience for that specific context. But indeed there are some universal colors like green is nature, red is fire, blue is the sky, since those are the actual orange is orange, since those are the actual colors of the elements themselves. But with regards to the interpretation, that's where we as designers would have to be more flexible.
Correct.
That's
Yeah.
my 2 cents.
Especially when you're designing for your client, there might be branding colors that you cannot go away with, or there are certain colors that they don't like, that you have to move away from or run away from. So yeah, it's um so I mean, there are so many factors. It requires very, for me as an instructional designer, it's a field that requires a lot of creativity. You can test your science, you can test your art, you can be crazy, but within a limitation. So know what creativity is if it is not, if you are not given a boundary, right? So when you solve problems, there will always be limitations. um, you don't do things just freely, without limitations. So yeah, the more limitation it has, the more creative you will have to be. That's my take.
Are Question: are you still with Arm Kite Consultancy?
Ah, yes. So it's actually refugee. We are
Ah,
helping to educate refugee, where we have our own school in Kajang, Malaysia. Uh, so we have about 60 students, and because of different culture, there are challenges that we have to face. There are different kind of challenges. So we feel like the reason why we started this is initiative is because one of my friends came to us, to me and my husband, and we decided to help. And we are still looking for more funding to fund the school every month, um, because we feel that even though we are educating our local students, if we neglect these refugees, eventually it will create social problems, because they cannot read. If they cannot read, they cannot work. So they started to create, uh, you know, problems to the society and community. So that's why we started helping these students and the parents.
where are these refugees from? Ukraine?
Uh, we have Rohingya. We
Ah,
have
yeah.
uh, Indonesian also, Pakistani also, a few. Yeah, as long
That's
as you
awesome.
have a refugee card.
Yep. Someone here is asking, how did you end up in Dassault Systems?
How did I end up in that system? So yeah, after 8 years of working at Breakfield Asia College, uh, I have decided that I want to pursue actually green technology. So I was looking for a green conscious company. So I want to see,
Mm.
what are the what what can this company brings to me, and what can I bring to that company. So after 8 years, after leaving engineering for so long, I was in education. So I was like, you know what, I want to pursue green technology, but I need a starting point. So that's why I joined Dassault System last year. And it has been a great learning experience, because it's a huge company,
Yeah.
and it's very well known, and the people are fantastic, and there are so many learning opportunities within the company, and information flows very fast. You get to learn about AI, you get to learn about Katya, SolidWorks, or all the other tools that most one of the most advanced company in the world. So yeah, that's why I end up in Dassault.
Another question here, is instructional design a good career to pursue?
Yes. Yes. So yeah, that's why I'm here, I guess. Because it's a very new field, although it has been found, like I said, 1940s. Uh, but it's a new field in Malaysia also. Actually, even in Dassault, we don't have many instructional designers. We people, I mentioned this to Joe right just now with Raymond, like even the HR misunderstood it as graphic designing. A lot of the HRs also are not clear with the job scope and what to offer. I've been to an interview previously, not with Dasu. I mean previous interview where the HR has to change the job scope when I explain actually what we do. So yeah, it's a very you have very less competitors. You don't have many competitors. If you are here today, this year or last year, we started very early, 8 years ago, then you're like the pioneer. I mean, yeah, because people are not used to do instructional designing, especially in engineering in another industry. So instructional design has always been in the classroom, right? It happens because you thought, trainers, they don't have to know instructional design because they know about the products that they want to train. If you're training AutoCAD, for example, oh, I don't need to know instructional design because I'm very good in using AutoCAD. But guess what, you might be wrong because you are training human being. So you have to
Yeah.
start looking at instructional design and educate yourself about instructional designing.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess same for me. I teaching CAD was never in my my plans as well. So I am also surprised. Way back when I was in high school, I never imagined teaching, because some of my classmates, they made our teachers cry. so yeah, it is yeah, very very odd for me that I also came to this world of sharing knowledge with regards to uh, CAD. Another question here: what's your preferred LMS if you're using one?
I don't have preferred LMS, to be honest, because when you go to different companies, they will usually have their own LMS. So for me, LMS is just a learning management system, but I do have features that I want that every LMS should have. Okay,
Yeah.
so in an LMS, it should have a place where you uh, impart knowledge. It can be a video or a SCOM file or a PowerPoint, whatever. And then you need the LMS will need to have a feature called a testing mechanisms. It has to have MCQ or an element that helps people to test their knowledge. And then if in a college environment, they also have a forum embedded into the LMS, so teachers and students can talk about the same topic in within LMS. So those are the features that you must have in an LMS, or else I don't think the LMS can be called as an LMS, because no, having only just videos or materials to put up in a system, it can just be, a YouTube channel. There's no, learning happening. You don't have a place where you recall stuff, or where you don't have a tool that helps you to remember whatever you're learning. So then it shouldn't be called a learning management system. It can be called content management system, where you segregate contents. Yeah, that's my answer. So I don't have a preferred LMS.
Yeah.
mm,
And another question, for those who owns, I guess, a small medium enterprises,
mhm.
I guess they're asking, how do I get my company to take instructional design seriously?
That's a challenge, not just for the company, it's also for me. As when you mentor people, you also have to figure out. So what I did previously, I had a few methods lah, okay. So this is my personal journey. How do I, because when you took masters in instructional design, you have to know your knowledge is not that broad enough, because technology or instructional technology moves very fast. So other than just teaching people, I will have to also teach myself, right? So one way to encourage people, uh, in my opinion, uh, to learn, is of course to start by learning. we, for example, I joined masterclass. If you have seen masterclass before, right? So I joined masterclass, but as an engineer, or before this I was engineer, I'm not very good with art. I'm not very good with looking at colors and how to differentiate whether this colors is okay or not okay for the design. So within that masterclass courses, I took courses that are art centric, but also science. For example, like architecture. So I listens to architects, expert architects who talks about design, and then start to evoke my appreciation to art. So to answer that question, as an SME, you want people to start uh wh- liking instructional design. You have to start from what they like. For example, I also like to play games, so I took up courses like game psychology. um do you know the within the masterclass there was this sim city game developer. So he talks about design, he talks, so there are so many angles that you can pull these people. If you have a young crowd 20s to 30s, sometimes you hire these youngsters, they don't know what they when they are going, where they are going. So they like to play games. So you start from there. Start from, what, do you know how to design better gaming uh, experience? So because gaming is all about engagement. If you can create a learning experience that engaging people, so then you are actually developing a really powerful learning experience. So start from gaming, start from things that they like. For example, I like as you know, I like makeup. So I also watch all these people talking about makeup, how they use the right color to put on their face, how to use, so all these uh, branches out to instructional design or design as a whole.
Yeah, I've heard about that one. I think gamification.
Hmm. But it's different than game design. Yeah, gamification, it's about using game elements to help people keep using the tools. For
Mm.
example, you add points. If they click this, they get 5 points, 3 points, right? So that's gamification. But game design is about the whole experience in gaming. It's about the color that you use, the elements that you want to build, why you want to build these elements. So if you try to make it sound interesting, hopefully people will think it's interesting and they start learning based on first their interest and moving towards a more deep learning. That's my opinion. Yeah.
How about you, Raymond?
Coming from the BPO industry, the gamification of instructors is also it's actually a crucial part with the way how things are instructed, and it really helps with the learning process. For example, if one system or software is being taught to us, we people may be divided in groups so that there's the game element that's designed around accomplishing a specific goal that increases engagement, that increases teamwork, which is actually crucial in that line of work. And I can imagine that can be adjusted with other lines of works in terms of being as part of the instructional design, but it is really engaging.
Mhm.
It something that can be discussed even with examples on a white or blackboard. It can be made twice or even more times as interesting as it is, just because of the gamification process. So I greatly admire that element or concept.
Okay. So, yep, I guess this is the last question for this evening. To Jazz, what are the common tools or software you use for instructional design for those aspiring to be in this career?
Okay. If you're just learning, you should start from PowerPoint. Eventually, yes. If you're just testing, because the elements inside PowerPoint is loose enough for you to experiment. Um, but in a company, usually they will buy you all these um, articulate rise, articulate storyline, all this. But the basis is PowerPoint. So you start with PowerPoint, start with a blank canvas, uh, start creating instructions and test it on your mom or your sister or your brother, and then try to see whether they actually understand the I mean, you take that really hard concept and try to squeeze it inside one slide. You know, use your creativity, use colors, use words, use whatever tool you have within PowerPoint to start. Yeah. Nowadays, I like to use Canva because it's like PowerPoint, but it is an easier tool than PowerPoint. So you can try both Canva, PowerPoint, but start with an instruction. So what do you want to teach? Who do you want to teach? Or 5 years old, or your mom, teaching your mom technology. Even though if you really want to, brush up your skill, you don't need PowerPoint. Try to teach your mom to use YouTube, or upload something on YouTube and see whether you're successful or not.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so yep, for those who are interested to touch base with Raymond, how can they contact you?
I do have a LinkedIn page, which that's actually where the social media that I'm most active these days, as opposed to FB. They can just search my name at Raymond Mapalad, and that's Raymond with a U. And
Awesome.
yeah, that's it for that. That's the only social media that I'm currently active at right now.
Yeah. And for you, Jazz?
Also go to my LinkedIn. I mean, I'm accessible. I always on LinkedIn because it's in on my phone, so you can just send me a message or ask me questions if you want. I'm open to discussing because I like learning from others so that I can learn also. Yeah. So just contact me, just message me.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so yep. If you have an advocacy or message to share, good message to share like Jazz, we're inviting you to be our next sharer for our LinkedIn local community. So we hope I learned something new, and we hope everyone, we hope you learned something new as well, and we hope we've been a blessing in a way. So once more, thank you so much, Jazz. We hope to see you again. Maraming
Thank you.
maraming salamat. I
Thank
guess we
you.
shared the salamat word.
Salamat malam.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Selamat
and hoping
tinggal.
you can visit we can visit you and you can visit
Oh,
Philippines in the near future.
I think we'll
Thank you
start
so
with you
much.
visiting me. Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.